We've got to be back to the office. You get a lot more done if you're in person.
I would say no, as I'm a supporter of hybrid working.
People are much more close to each other, much more collaborative, and that makes things a lot more faster, a lot more effective.
We should stick with the hybrid working because I think it allows for flexibility and it allows for people's personal circumstances to be taken into consideration.
We should come back into the office mainly for the culture and getting everyone together.
I think the answer to a mass return to work is no. However, certain people, certain roles, it's possibly a yes.
So transport and storage actually comes in at number 2, which is quite interesting here and actually reflects what we know about the industry itself. So currently, looking at this study, 55% of employers were struggling to get the right talent in and filling vacancies.
It's a subject that attracts quite a lot of emotional, kind of personal, subjective opinions. I think hybrid working is a thing that's here to stay.
There is no one size fits all. It is really a company by company basis. Hi, my name is Scott Bright. I'm a senior manager here at Menzies LLP in our outsourced business services unit. We work very closely with a lot of BIFA members, and currently we know that there's a lot of issues around attracting and keeping the right talent and attracting new talent into the industry. Part of the questions we get asked is around whether or not you should get your staff back to the office full-time, introduce hybrid working, or in some cases allow people to work from home full-time. We wanted to film this today to be able to give you some tips and tricks and the best solutions to be able to approach this problem. As employers now, do you have everyone in the office full-time? Okay, interesting, 2 people. And is there anyone here that actually implements a complete remote working policy? So everyone's at home all of the time. Okay. And who here implements hybrid working as a policy? Very interesting. Okay. Today we held a seminar around the return to work versus hybrid working. It was great to present the seminar today and see a lot of faces in there. I think the most important point from today was the striking data that showed just how important hybrid working is to the workforce in the UK. So let's have a look at some of the stats that support kind of hybrid working. So, as of 2025, 74% of UK employers implement hybrid working. The interesting fact here, this has come down slightly from 2023, where 84% of employers had hybrid working, showing that slight shift to get people back into the offices. It's worth noting that half of all UK workers cannot work from home, cannot work remotely due to the nature of what they do. You know, truck drivers, people that work in, retail, in the leisure industry. But it's interesting that 28% of the other half have actually experienced hybrid working in their roles. Okay, so now let's look at some of the data behind the return to office mandates. So King's College London did a study back in May 2025, around employees' reactions to whether or not they'd be forced to come back to the office in a return to office mandate. So 42% of the workforce that they asked actually said that they would comply. Strangely, that's come down from 2022 from 54%. 9% actually said that they would quit their job immediately if they were forced to come back to the office. And the other 49% actually said that they would start looking for a job, but not leave immediately. But it does show here how important it is to have flexible working and hybrid working to enable to keep your talent.
With this data, did you see any sort of changes with the generations, young and old, the responses to it?
It's actually a great question, and the answer is yes, we did. So younger workers at this moment in time are generally kind of more in favour of the hybrid working. Just coming from a personal opinion, one of the first questions you'll get in an interview from the interviewee is, do you have flexi time, do you have flexi working, do you have hybrid? This actually comes before salary, which is something quite interesting. Obviously, older workers probably more inclined and more used to that being at the office, being at the site of work. So absolutely we did. Just some other interesting kind of facts about the data, I guess, is women and parents of young children showed most resistance coming back to the office full time, due to obviously having that flexibility around childcare. Men, and again, it's similar lines, but men and parents of school-aged children, they actually are increasingly becoming more resistant to coming back to the office. Similar reasons to the demographic above.
There is a genuine balance that can be struck between what is actually good for business and what is good for employees. Because actually having employees working in ways that work for them does increase their satisfaction, it increases their motivation, and you can draw a line between that and business performance. So think about it strategically, think about it in relation to whatever data you have, and yeah, there are ways in which you can find the right solution that actually should work in everyone's favour and isn't an either, you win, I lose type of outcome.
Brilliant. So we've had a look at the data. Let's now have a look at some of the positives and negatives for both the employees and yourselves as employers around hybrid working and whether or not the work from home part of that works or not. So from an employee perspective, I guess the main benefit that's been found through surveys and kind of research is that the quality of life of employees obviously it improves. So 80% of employees say that working flexibly has had a positive impact on their life. It's interesting that a lot of this is around avoiding the daily commute, as I'm sure we're all kind of aware of and can be quite frustrating at times. So workers actually save on average when they work from home about 56 minutes per day. And research suggests that a lot of this extra time that they gain is put into kind of wellness and sleep, rest, going to the gym, doing exercise, and obviously it is better for their well-being. However, I guess one part of the research showed that 50 to 60% of workers that work from home, and I guess this tends to be if you work from home more so than you do work in the office, is that they feel they're socially isolated. You don't build those same relationships and don't have that constant communication. So from an employer's perspective, obviously the research showed that team building, as we just mentioned, isn't as high. So you kind of lose a bit of that rapport and lose a bit of that communication. It also doesn't help that if people work from home, knowledge is not shared quite as easily. So again, there's that kind of blockage. However, and I find this quite interesting, is that the study showed that people that work from home actually increase productivity, specifically with jobs where it's quite routine and it's quite transactional in nature. Even if they're working at home, there's fewer distractions, so people just tend to get on with their work. And as we've mentioned on the last slide as well, positives for you guys for having that flexible working is that you manage to attract and keep the talent in your businesses.
I think flexible working encourages lots of productivity. I think it retains talent, and I think it also opens up the world to those with caregiving responsibilities to make sure they can be there for their families, increase their well-being, but also be productive at work.
I think that hybrid working is really good for staff well-being, and I think that element of flexibility is great.
It's more productive, and also it gives employees to enjoy their time with their family and improve their well-being.
I just think it's the best way for deep work, for sort of deep solo work. I love being at home because I can really crack on in that intense environment without any sort of distractions. But when I'm doing collaborative work with my colleagues or having team meetings, I love to be in there, and I love to, that in-person meeting. I don't think you can, that's so important when you're bouncing ideas off each other.
Hybrid working offers great flexibility for staff and has the best applications for all talent.
So firstly, hybrid working is here to stay. We've seen with a lot of the statistics, I think the pandemic had a big impact on this, but it's unlikely that we'll ever go back to a full kind of return to office 5 days a week situation. We've seen a lot of evidence that shows that actually how you get your employees to work impacts the talent that you get into the business and how you keep them. Speaking to a lot of our clients, there is an increasing sense of entitlement around, this not being a privilege to work at home, but actually it's a given. So again, that adds pressure when you're deciding on how you want to operate. There is no one size fits all. It is really a company by company basis. So you can, it might be 2 days a week, 4 days a week. There is situations where a full return to office mandate would work for companies, but likely those that have work where you have to be on site. And actually you should use a lot of evidence within your own business to decide on what policy you want to implement. If there was one thing that I would like the BIFA members to take away from today, is that you should have clear policies in place around the return to work or the hybrid working. But more importantly, engage with your staff, engage with your workforce, speak to them. What is it they like about their current situation? What are the dislikes? And how would they react to the change? If you are thinking about implementing hybrid working, there are obviously some things to consider. So firstly, we would suggest that you run a poll with your employees, talk to them. What do they like about how you currently do things? What do they dislike? And use that information to decide then how you're going to implement any change. Establish a clear policy. We said at the beginning about some hands, and some of you did have a clear policy, some of you didn't. We would advise that you do have a clear policy. It helps you to kind of monitor that, keep quality control on which we'll come on to in a moment, around performance, and also if there's any kind of disciplinary issues, then obviously it's easier if you have a clear policy to touch upon. So criteria, obviously there's things to think about. So when you're in an office environment, is it right that everyone should be working from home? Should everyone be in the office? You've got new starters, they need to share knowledge, learn how things work. So is it best that they stay in the office for 5 days a week for 6 months and then see how we get on? As we said earlier, it's a privilege, it's not a right. Office days, so again, if you're going to do a flexible working policy, have some minimum days. As we saw earlier, 3 days seems to be around the kind of mandated pattern. Have team days, so everyone's in the office on certain days, so you get to build that relationship and you get to share the knowledge. Communication, collaboration. Obviously, people working in different environments and different locations. You have to cultivate a culture of communication and collaboration and make sure people are available on those days that they're working from home. And then obviously lastly is around performance and monitoring. We saw a study earlier about, people increasing productivity at working from home, but you have to have controls and measures in place to be able to measure that and to be able to monitor your policy. A lot of you will have people, employees that can't work from home, lorry drivers, you've got warehouse workers and things like that. So it is really about looking about, the bigger picture. What is it that you offer as an employer to be able to kind of attract and keep that talent, as we've said. So again, the obvious one here is around pay, making sure they're remunerated, to a level that's comfortable and works for everyone. Healthcare benefits, pensions, that's also a big part, and again, just kind of add-ons that help attract that, at the right level of staff. Strong leadership was suggested from the data. That is another piece that actually keeps people engaged in their job and happy in their job. And career development was another big factor, and making sure you have the right things in place, competencies and pathways through to be able to develop themselves and work through the business.
So I think the one takeaway I would give to BIFA members is hybrid working, where for roles where it's possible, is a thing. It is here to stay, and they should really think carefully about how to set it up and manage it in a way that does work for both the company and the individuals, because a win-win solution is possible.
Thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful and it's added value to you and your business. Here at Menzies, we would love to work with you and help you solve these issues. All of our details will be in the link to this video. Please get in touch.